Life in India for women is a much different world than the world women experience as Americans. Of course, anyone with a history book knows that women all over the world historically have been at a disadvantage. However, in recent years, women all over the world have made great strides being able to own land, property, businesses, choose who they want to marry, and God forbid, even vote for government officials. Yes!
Wait a minute.
My classmates and I are going to deconstruct the very unique gender roles in the country of India. And you would be less than shocked to discover that many of the strides women have made all over the world the past few hundred years seems to have been lost in translation somewhere along the Indian civilization's history. The subservience and obedience of women is deeply embedded in the young Indian woman, starting at birth by family and then slowly but surely reinforced by society. For instance, these young women know starting at birth that they will have to have an arranged marriage, which we know today to be a very archaic practice, in which a woman is property to be bartered for. There are also many societal norms that hold Indian women to a different standard. There are different sitting areas on public transport and restaurants, shops, etc., all specifically designed for women to be separated from men. There are laws in place that dictate women's clothes, speech, freedom of choice, as well as their own menstrual cycles. You would think all of these things are practices that are no longer practiced today, right? Well, in India, that is not correct. To this very day, many of these same laws are still in place in Indian culture. In fact, the moment in which I found most reflective of this, which was in the uniquely Indian film style called Bollywood. For those of you that may not know, Bollywood is a famous Indian style of television and film entertainment that is usually heavily filled with music and shows a lot about Indian culture, in my opinion. There's a Bollywood film, however, that I would like to specifically reference in terms of the most shocking epiphany I had at which through this film, seeing how different the gender norms are between our country and theirs. And that film is called Entherion. It is starring Rajan Kant. He is basically the Indian equivalent of Tom Cruise. In this international Bollywood hit, our male protagonist creates a robot version of himself, which begins to try to take his creator's life, including his love interest. Towards the end of the film, we see the robot kidnapped the female heroine from her home with just a robot. He is thwarted by our hero. However, in doing so, the mass general public sees our heroine in the buff. Now, while in America, that's just kind of embarrassing, our Indian Bollywood film is quite the opposite. The entire mass public who sees her, I was shocked by the reaction of the entire mass public upon seeing our hero naked. Instead of finding it somewhat embarrassing or funny, the entire mass public is shocked and horrified and deeply angered as you slowly begin to find out that now, according to Indian culture, because she's been seen nude by everyone, she's lost her honor. So, basically, our Bollywood film tells us that she was an innocent bystander and she got kidnapped by a sex-crazed robot, and because she got seen naked in public through no fault of her own, she lost her honor. Way to go, India. Such a small aspect in a film from another country showed me how easy it is to allow controversial, unfair archetypes to be so easily fed to us as be so easily fed to us as a social societal norm by the media.
India's genders, hijras, the third gender. I chose the book Neither Man Nor Woman, The Hijras of India by Serena Nanda. This book was published in 1990. Serena Nanda was born August 13, 1938. Today she is 81 years old and still alive. Serena's favorite topics are anthropology, included the topic of gender diversity, and her important text on the Hijras of India. She is an American author, anthropologist, and a professor. She has been publishing books from 1971 to 2019. Serena Nanda received the Ruth Benedict for the monograph Neither Man Nor Woman. Here are some facts on hijras. On April 15, 2014, the Supreme Court of India said that trans people in the country should be treated as a third category of gender or to be named as just the third gender. Hijras get the emasculation operation, where they get all of their male genitals removed, and this is the rebirth of the hijra. Hijras worship a lord named Shiva that forms a shape of a half woman, half man, and is called Arhana Risivora. At one point, hijras became very critical and very rude in Urdu, so the word Kawasjasara is used in association to them to be more respectful. The national estimate of hijras in the country is between 50,000 to 1 million. Majority of hijras live in margins of the society, and their source of income comes from doing various performances or working as sex workers. Here are some pictures of different hijras, and I attached a video that really goes in depth about the third gender and how they celebrate in the streets and how they dress and how they go about their way of becoming a hijra and how they are so loved. And this is the third gender of India.
In India to serve openly with the blessing of the Supreme Court.
You are a trailblazer. Were there any resistance for you running for a mayor?
मुझे मना मेरे डैडी किए थे, मेरे भाई लोग किए थे, क्योंकि पहले और कभी 20-25 साल पहले कोई किन्नर ऐसी चुनाव पे लड़ी थी तो उनका इसी दुश्मनी से मर्डर हो चुका। मैंने ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता, पहले ज़माना दूसरा था, अब के ज़माने दूसरे हैं। पूरे रायगढ़ जितने थे सब मेरे एक तरफा मैंने जीत गई थी करके मुझे डर लगा था कहीं पार्टी वाले दुश्मनी ना निकाल लें, इसलिए मुझे डर लगा था करके मैंने सिक्योरिटी मांगी थी।
How did you feel when you won?
मैं जीती उस दिन मुझे कुछ नहीं लगा, मेरे को आम जनता भी आके मेरे साथ ऐसे बैठ के बातचीत चाय पानी पी के चाहते हैं। नेता के आवाज़ से नहीं बोल रही, मैं अपने मन से बोल रही हूँ, मेरा मन ऐसा है।
Have you been able to make the change you wanted since you became a mayor?
लेकिन यहाँ बैठ गई, लेकिन बैठने के बाद साल भर तक 1.5 साल तक कोई विकास कार्य नहीं हुआ, क्योंकि भेदभाव चालू कर दिए। कर्मचारी अधिकारी जो भी थे सब भेदभाव करना चालू कर दिए, तो निगम में कोई सपोर्ट नहीं मिला मेरे को। सारे वार्डों में कार्य जो भी कार्य होता था सब रुक गया, कोई कार्य नहीं हो पाया। बहुत दिक्कत गया 1.5 साल तक। अब मुझे लगता है कि मुझे कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, अब मैं बहुत अच्छे से चला रही हूँ।
What changed in a year and a half?
फाइल मेरे तक नहीं आते थे, सबकी जानकारी लेना चालू किए हम लोग, फिर जाके पता चला कितना घोटाला कौन किया क्या उन्होंने किया, और जब वो अपनी लाइन पे लाने चालू किए तब से सब सपोर्टिंग करने चालू कर दे कि मेरा पोलो ना खोल दें, उनका पोलो ना खोल दें करके, तब से आप ठीक चल रहा है निगम अपना।
How has the Supreme Court ruling changed your life personally?
सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने हम लोग को आज इज्जत सम्मान के लिए जो ये किया है, लाभ हुआ है, यही तो है। मेयर बनी हूँ, आज समाज में इज्जत है और नाम है और कहीं भी जाने सम्मान मिलता है।
I find you inspiring. You face double discrimination, poverty and transgender, and you came victorious at the end.
हासिल की किस्मत है सब।
It's quite amazing to move from a beggar in the street to a mayor. It speaks a lot about Indian society, Indian democracy. There are about 2 million people who identify themselves as third gender in India. The biggest impact of the Supreme Court on their lives is that it gave them dignity. And with dignity, they are trying to change the story. From an ostracized community that only shows up in entertainments or in begging in the streets, to now taking a formal role in the society, such as being a mayor. That Supreme Court ruling changed a major narrative not only in India, but I think and I hope for the whole world. And the story continues.
Indian men are seen as these manly men that are capable of many things. They're seen as the ones that save you no matter what situation you're in. This is seen in their entertainment industry, such as Bollywood movies. Boys see this and believe that this is what is expected out of them. Women see this as a standard and start to believe that if a man doesn't act this way in real life, then he's not a real man. This is harmful in many ways. It starts a vicious cycle that becomes hard to break. The pressure to be a real man becomes too much to handle for many. This forces one to go out of their way to prove that they are a real man. As mentioned before, Bollywood is a huge source of entertainment in India. The main plot among these movies is more often than not, a man has all the characteristics of a manly man, saving a woman from danger, but not before going through a series of events that proves just how manly he is. An example of this is the Bollywood movie Rocky Handsome. In this movie, a pawn shop owner named Rocky seeks revenge after a gang kidnaps his neighbors, a drug-addicted woman and her child. The man has a special bond with the young child, almost seeing her as his own child in a way. In the movie, he uncovers an organ harvesting ring and takes down an entire gang in efforts to try and save the mother and the child. Seeing that the standard is manly men, boys that don't fit into this mold are pressured into being something that they're not, often feeling like they are lacking or that something is wrong with them. Many boys are not allowed to express themselves freely because they won't be seen as manly or will be ridiculed when they do decide to express themselves in a way that doesn't fit the standard. What can be done to break the cycle? Starting off with things like not saying phrases like men don't do this, men don't do that, and letting your son cry and letting them do things that are traditionally seen as feminine can help break the cycle bit by bit. Letting boys express themselves freely without the pressure of being a man can help teach them that being a man isn't about how strong or tough you are, but how comfortable one is with themselves in order to do things that aren't seen as manly. Another big step would be to show men that aren't as manly in the media. This will help prove that there is more to men than just masculine characteristics, but also a soft emotional side that isn't shown very often. Not just Indian men, but men all over the world feel a pressure to not be soft, to not be seen as anything less of a man. This takes a toll on them in many ways. It will take a lot more effort to remove some of the pressure off their backs, especially because this has been something that has been with them since birth. It's going to take more than just letting your son cry or letting them express themselves as they wish. This is something that has to be done within generations with the help of the media, all on top of removing the negative stigma to really prove that there is more than being a man than just stereotypical characteristics.